What's up, everybody? Josh Armijo here. I hope everybody's doing good and well and stuff. I got an album review to do for you, and I'm going to show it to you right now. This is the debut album from the band Twitch of the Death Nerve, entitled A New Code of Morality. This is released on Comatose Music. Now, if you're not too familiar with this band, they are based out of London, England, and the best way to describe the sound of this band would be a very technical, witty, and eccentric style of brutal death metal. This is my very first exposure to the band. I was really not too familiar with what this band has put out prior to this debut, other than just a split release that was released many years ago. Some key facts to point out for you about this band. One of the people that's involved in this band is the owner of a record label known as Grind Ethic Records. You may know the label best for early releases from bands such as Ingested, Defeated Sanity, and assorted other good brutal death metal bands. And another thing to point out is the fact that Lille from Defeated Sanity plays drums on this album. So those are some of the key notes that I'm very familiar with about this band. Now with that out of the way, let's get on to this debut full length. It's 11 tracks, and it clocks in at around 39 minutes in length. And honestly, this is something that tries to differentiate itself from the crowded brutal death metal scene. There is really a lot to take in with this album. The lyrical content, the song structuring, the vocal styles, the technicality. There is just a lot of musical ideas going on here. And the way that this album sets itself up, it really sounds incredible. And really, this is going to be a band that definitely makes a difference within the death metal scene for both the UK and for around the world. Getting on to the musical aspects of this album, I think the guitar work here is incredibly detailed. Very hard-hitting, very technical, a lot of crushing riff work. It's especially evidented on the very first half of this album. I think the riff work is incredibly crazy. It doesn't try to be too crazy, but yet it's spastic and chaotic enough to hold your attention. Like the first couple of tracks, Peculiar Perversions Particular to the Picarist, Scores of Sores, Legions of Legions. Yeah, just some really top-notch guitar work going on with this album, and it's done in a very good way. Very impressively played, very well done, very accurately articulated. I love that about these guitar riffs. And the bass guitar work is very technical too. I want to say that the bass kind of reminds me a little bit of Cerebral Bore's bass style sound. You hear it very audibly, but then in certain instances you'll hear the bass guitar on its own. You hear the little bass diddles, and I think it really sounds cool. I love when a band does tricks with the bass guitar and really make it that much more evidented within the album's overall style and substance. I think it's really awesome. Moving on to the drums, like I said, Lille of Defeated Sanity is playing drums on this album, and apparently he's a pretty busy guy as of lately, not only with that band, but he's drummed for a couple of other notable releases, like the debut from Zealotry and the upcoming debut from Abhorrent Castigation. Now he's doing drums on this album, and in typical Lille Gruber fashion, he just annihilates his drum kit here and plays very fast, very technical kind of drum styles, very loud snare tone in the mix. I love the way that it sounds here. It sounds very infectious, kind of has that almost UK brutal death metal kind of vibe when it comes to the drum performance. I love the fast double bass. I love the fills, the double bass, the blast beats. There's just a lot of variety within Lille's drum performance, and he really delivers another fantastic drum performance here. Trying to make it a little bit different from what you would normally hear him do, but he does so in the typical kind of performance that he delivers, you know. I think it's a really awesome drum performance by Lille. And moving on to the vocals, it's basically a two-tone vocal attack for this album, but what you do get with the vocals, it is very entertaining. On one end, you have very low, guttural, almost gurgling vocals going on. It's very freaky sounding, and I love the way that the frontman delivers the ugliness in his low guttural growls. And the same can be said for the high pitched screams. The high screams sound very, very crazy and chaotic. I love I love the vocal variety that's being done here. And going again to the lyrical content, this band seems to have a little bit of a sense of humor when it comes to the wordplay and the lyrical content. Like I mentioned, the first couple of tracks, Peculiar Perversions, Particular to the Picarist, Scores of Swords, Legions of Legions, 120 Days in Sodom. Yeah, just some really, really complex songwriting and lyric writing going on here. It's not just your typical brutal death metal, blood, guts, and gore. Of course, you get those instances and elements on this album, but the way that it's done here really, really makes it an entertaining listen, and definitely something cool to read along when you read the lyric book. And the final two tracks on this album, if I'm not mistaken, are songs that were included on this band's split that was released a long while ago. Continuing on with the freaky song titles, Well, If the Turkey's in the High Chair, Where's the Baby? And The Pizza Family Holiday, Where's the Baby Part 2. Heavily, heavily entertaining stuff, I must say. So yeah. Overall, if you happen to be into bands like, let's say, maybe Severed Savior or Cephalic Carnage, Scattered Remnants, Suffocation, Cerebral Bore, Twitch of the Death Nerve is a band for you to definitely be on the lookout for and checking out. They're trying to be different, and that's what I appreciate about this release. It sounds different, it's executed very properly, and it is a highly, highly entertaining listen. I definitely recommend it to you if you're into those bands, or if you're into UK brutal death metal. They know how to do their own style properly and do things right, and I really had a ball listening to this album. If I had to pick any favorite tracks, I would definitely have to say the first two tracks that I mentioned, Peculiar Perversions, Particular to the Picarist, Scores of Swords, Legions of Legions, 120 Days in Sodom, The Repercussions of Fetal Consumption, and Eschewing the Advice Against Self-Trepanation. So I'm going to leave you some links in the description box as to how you can get a hold of this album. This is currently available through the Comatose Music web store. You can purchase the CD. There is also t-shirt and tank top options available. I will also leave you a link to a album preview that is currently on YouTube of this album. So if you want to hear some samples of how this album sounds, definitely make an effort to do so. So, again, the album is A New Code of Morality by Twitch of the Death Nerve. This is released on Comatose Music. Definitely check this out, and I'm going to give this an 8.5 out of 10. Very, very entertaining debut. Support Twitch of the Death Nerve. I'm going to conclude this review. Thanks a lot for watching. Thanks for joining my channel, and until the next time, Armijo out.